My reaction following Dortmund's roller coaster win against Heidenheim. Now, where do we start? This had me in pieces when I was watching the highlights. Thankfully, once again, I did not watch the game. I was in the gym following on the live ticket. But let's start at the beginning. A set piece leads to our goal. Waldemar Anton kicks it in from about 2 yards out. And Dortmund seem to be on the front foot. But then they concede two rapid goals right from the get-go of the second half, and suddenly they look to be squandering a great opportunity which Bayern have served them up to limit their gap between them and FC Bayern to 6 points. They concede two goals and they find themselves to be trailing against Heidenheim, who up until that point hadn't been playing a terrible football match. Quite the contrary, they'd been playing good football, creating chances and making it a tough match for Borussia Dortmund. And Dortmund are on the back foot. Now, about 5 minutes later, Dortmund managed to reclaim a penalty, and this is one of the greatest moves on the football pitch by a captain I have seen in quite some time. Nico Schlotterbeck, in front of the south tribune of Dortmund, the yellow wall, in front of those fans who are echoing their boos, decides to take the ball and give it to Guirassy, who, by the way, is in a terrible state of form, terrible, up until that moment. And not only does then Guirassy score a goal, make it 2-2, but a couple minutes after, he has the ball in the back of the net, and Dortmund lead 3-2. But hold on, this game has another twist. Why? Because Dortmund get another penalty about 5 minutes before the game ends. And what does Guirassy do? He sends the ball into the stands. A terrible display following a resurgence, a coming to life. And that not only makes Nico Schlotterbeck look like a fool, but it also puts Niko Kovac's job in massive jeopardy, because it not only underlines that Dortmund don't have a clear-cut captain, but it also shows that there was no coherence, there was no consistency when it comes to penalty takers. If I am the coach, I am so adamant about who takes my penalties. Yes, I understand Emre Can was not there. He would have taken them. But nonetheless, you have a first penalty taker. If he's not there, you have a second penalty taker. And you have to rely on him scoring goals. You cannot have him airmailing these games. And then to finish it off, to put the cherry on the cake, Heidenheim miss a golden opportunity to equalise in the 97th minute. And by the way, they would have deserved a 3-3. They played really, really well. And, you know, obviously I've said this before, but this result will overshadow Dortmund's otherwise mediocre performance. One thing that I will highlight is that since Kovac has begun his tenure, especially this season, there's not been a player development which has been obvious. We haven't seen signs of a team performance that is being built on systems implemented and players can improve on. It's sort of the same attacking football. It's the back three, sort of the wing backs attacking out wide. We have the two sort of midfielders that don't necessarily opt to go for the wing. They opt to go through the middle. So it's a lot of midfield game football. And Dortmund, I've said this over and over, have struggled against weak opponents in the Champions League and also in the Bundesliga. And there seems to be no improvement whatsoever of closing out games. This game, beginning of the season, first game St. Pauli, we were in a very similar position. We were up 3-1. Yes, we conceded a red card late, but we conceded 2 goals. Same position against Juventus and same position against various other teams. Now, yes, we were lucky yesterday to not concede the goal and get the vital 3 points, which now, as I said, only puts us 6 points behind Bayern, so steers up an entire new trophy and Bundesliga champion conversation. But at the end of the day, we have seen no improvement, and certainly a lot of that will be attributed to the fact that Dortmund's squad is very thin. Niko Kovac is largely picking the same players to start, and it's a lot of repetitive style or repetitive football. And so I'm really raising the question here, is Niko Kovac the right man to continue? Aside from that, Dortmund have played a magnificent season, so it's funny because Dortmund's season has overshadowed their otherwise poor performances, and perhaps it's been evident in the Champions League and evident in the DFB Pokal, and Dortmund are kind of shooting themselves in the foot because they can only blame themselves. So it's an interesting position. Obviously, I'm very happy with the win because now it only puts pressure on Bayern to now win and beat Hoffenheim, which is by no means a walk in the park. And Dortmund still play Bayern, right? And in Signal Iduna Park, so a lot can happen. I know I'm in cuckoo land if I think that Dortmund can suddenly reclaim the title. very unlikely, but you can dream. And it's a crazy turn of events. Crazy. This game was packed and full of emotions, full of chances, and Dortmund just need to learn how to close out these games, because in a different season where teams such as Leipzig, Frankfurt, Stuttgart, and Leverkusen are on their form, Dortmund are unlucky in the majority of games. Dortmund are very well sixth, right? And so I think Dortmund are profiting, obviously, from results going for them, and them sort of, yes, being lucky here and there, but just be cautious that in a different season and different circumstances with the same players, this turns into a catastrophe. So we'll see how long this can go. Obviously, the next games are very important, and Atalanta awaits us in the Champions League. So a lot to dissect. I'm obviously very massively discontent with the fact that we chose not to sign anyone. Felix Mané exits the game in the 40th minute. I'm not entirely sure what the diagnosis on his injury is, but bad signs in terms of recruitment, and one can only hope that Kiel learns from his mistakes should Dortmund finish below their targets.